Friday night. Why am I so low? I'm so low. I got to fix my camera. I think I was messing with it with a Zoom call. There we go. That's better. Beehive. What? That's a little like a spoiler for later on. Anyway, it is Friday night. The Skeptical Help Bar is open. It's been 3 weeks since we had a show. Holy shit. It's been a while. I miss you guys. Who's in the chat room already? Look at this. Tiffany, Shauna, Jade Kitten, Diane, Tiffany, Daniel Reed is here. What's Daniel Reed? I know that guy. Damn it, Bob is in the house. Awesome. I love seeing you guys show up. We have a guest tonight, so I'm really excited. So I'm going to get through my rules here so that we can get to them and talk to them and figure out who they are and what they're about and why they call themselves after a bee. Let's see. All right. So the rules here are, number one, you are welcome to ask questions. That's what the show is about. It's a learning show, and we learn together. Sometimes we ask questions, and I have no idea what you're talking about. So we Google it because Google is the god of everything. We figure out what's going on. We learn together. It's great. I love it. Rule number two is that I don't know everything. And that's honestly the truth. I mean, sometimes I pretend like I know stuff, but usually not. And my guests don't always know things too. So we might actually say, I don't know. And that's cool. That's the way it works. We just work to find out. Rule number 3 is we follow the Patrick Swayze rule here. And that's be nice until it's time not to be nice. But usually we be nice. That's it. So you can be in the chat room. You can discuss things. You can debate. You can disagree. That's cool. Just don't devolve into name calling or anything like that, because tonight Donna's off. Donna's off. She's not feeling too great tonight, so she's staying home. And I have Tim Vickers in the background. He's watching the chat room. And you know what happens if you get out of line? You get vickered. That's what happens. So you've been warned. Rule number 4 is that if you do have a question, please put a Q in front of it. That way it helps Tim pick it out and save it for later. And we do have the second hour that we're going to save for questions. And then rule number 5 is my favorite, drink up. And look, I got special tea. Why am I blurry? Get. There we go. Special tea. I visited Wawa. I'm so happy. All right, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to invoke my special guest banner. Oh, look at that. That was like magic. Holy shit. And we are going to bring on the Beehive Skeptics. There they are. What's up? How you guys doing? Oh, I haven't seen you forever.
It's been so long.
I'm going to have to pep up a little bit.
I'm sorry.
We're very dead inside. So we're like, woo, okay.
We can do this. Yeah.
I am so excited. This show is something I started during the pandemic, and it was just something to get out and virtually get out and see friends and people that I haven't seen or that I didn't get to see anymore. And it's my way of connecting with everyone every Friday night. We just hang out. And the people that show up are just great. I love talking to them. They've become good friends, even though I haven't met all of them in person yet, but we just have a great time. Jade Kitten, she's been a long time. She's been there like since the beginning, and she's amazing. So you guys, Shane and am I pronouncing this right? Kirsten?
Kirsten, yes.
Kirsten.
You've been
Okay.
calling her Kirsten the whole time.
I answered it.
I know. But I heard Shane say it, and I was like, oh shit, I'm saying it wrong.
I know. I don't hear people anymore because I'm just so used to it. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like I've been there where I've come across names that I wasn't sure. And if you ever watch this show, everyone knows like we always come across words where I have no idea how to pronounce them. And even when Google helps me, I'm still like, nope, I can't say that. my Philly accent just will not let me make those sounds. But I always like to make sure I get the pronunciation right so I don't screw up. Because, you know, I feel silly if like I left after calling you Kirsten all the time. I'd be like, oh shit, I've been pronouncing it wrong all night. I feel like an idiot. So good. I'm glad I got that out of the way.
Like I've been oblivious to my Utah accent, but apparently I have one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Utah.
Oh, honestly worse. It's always like, yeah, they got Alzheimer's. And I'm like,
They got Alzheimer's.
it's like, what are you saying? It's not a word. So yeah, I give them a hard time.
Okay. All right. So you guys are the Beehive Skeptics. You're part of this group. You founded this group, right?
I founded this group.
You found it. Oh, wow. He's like, I found it.
It's me.
Me. Okay.
Well, it's funny because the name. So you're gonna get some insider information.
Insider.
Information.
Oh, wow, Kenny.
I actually started this years ago, like 10 years ago, under the guise of Skeptics in Mormonville. And I was like, oh, that's
again? Mormonville?
Mormonville, yeah. And I was like, do you want to stay with that?
And so yeah, and I was about to like go. I was about to go apply for a business license, and I just started thinking about that, like, do I want to solidify that name right now?
No.
And so I called into a radio station, and it's actually a local radio station that named our group. It's cool. X96 96.3 alternative.
Yeah.
Radio from Hell is the morning show. I called them in. Hey, I want to change my name. What should I do? And they're the ones that came up with Beehive Skeptics.
Okay.
It's the Beehive State, in case you were wondering. It's Utah. It's the Beehive State. Everything's called Beehive here. Yeah. Everything. So
Beehive wine and bees. It's
yeah.
Wow.
So
radio show.
Insider radio show named it.
That's pretty cool.
I kind of like forced myself in, was like, hey, you guys are honorary members. And then I sent them some shirts, and I keep calling in randomly. I don't think they like me.
There's like
there's free publicity.
Well, yeah, you got to do what you got to do, to get out there and get noticed. So I get it. So my first question always to any guest, what's your origin story? Because I am a big comic book nerd. So I think everyone has like their origin of how they got to where they are. So
you have a way cool origin story.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I love it.
It's way cool.
Mine
is not cool, but Shane, continue.
Once upon a time.
In a galaxy far, far away.
In my brain, yes. I grew up in a very strict Mormon family. My mother, however, started dabbling in New Age. And so she would push that on us a lot. We'd go on cleanses all the time. She'd do applied kinesiology on us. And she once went to a psychic that told her she has the gift of intuition or something. No, the gift of basically,
prophecy?
Yeah, almost like if she thought it was true and no one could argue against her. It was so weird. It's so stupid.
That's pretty powerful.
Well, like for the longest time, I believed it. And I think it started, my mom was like homeschooling me. And part of my science education was like going on and watching the Science Channel and the History Channel, right? And so watched that History Channel moon landing episode. Or moon landing show, documentary, whatever, about the moon landing hoax. Me and my mom watched that together, and I came out of that like, this is bullshit. Like, this is wrong. I don't believe that at all. And my mom came out of that like, oh my God, they faked the moon landing. And like to this day, moon landing. And that was like my first sign of like, oh my God, my mom's not right about everything.
Wrong in the head.
That was kind of the trigger. And so I kind of moved away from that. I actually ended up at 16 running away from my parents, living on my own ever since. And then just kind of slowly built it up, got into the community, started, listening to the podcast, reading the document or reading the, articles and
literature.
All of that literature, the literature. And then I started, and the deal is that what you got to know is Utah has two main groups. One is Salt City Skeptics, and the other is Atheist Utah. Now, Atheists of Utah, I kept trying to get involved with, but then you learn that atheist does not necessarily mean skeptic.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them were getting into the occult and ghost hunting, into and energy healing, all of that. And I was just like, no, these aren't my people. Salt City.
When you say getting into, do you mean like practicing or trying to explain it?
A little of both.
Yeah, I'd say practicing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
That's
odd.
Yeah.
That's Utah for you.
Okay.
No.
All right.
So, and then Salt City Skeptics, they're more of a social group. And I went there a couple times and tried to convince them to like, let's get into activism, let's do stuff, and they were just, no, we just like hanging out at a bar. It's just like, okay. and so I was waiting. And so I started my own group for a while. It went through because of my first divorce, and I just working 3 jobs. I just couldn't maintain it at the time.
Right.
And then I figured, somebody better will come along, make a group, and I'll just join it when it happens.
Yeah. For like the last 4 years, he's just like, why is it someone made a group? Yeah, a skepticism group. I was like, you need to do it. No one's going to do it for you. And he was just like, but I don't want to.
Yeah. Well,
great impression of him.
Such a great impression.
His face started spinning. It got weird, but yeah, he finally caved and just did it.
Well, let me tell you why I caved. It's kind of a cool story. Sorry, now I lost my train of thought. Okay.
Drinking and skepticism.
Well, and the main reason I thought someone else would come and do it is because I'm uneducated. I'm a college dropout. All I know is what I'm self-taught. And so I've always thought, this is something better for like a scientist. This is something better for a college graduate. This is something better. Someone better should come along and do this. No one has yet. So here I am with my social anxiety and my dropout degree. But what happened was I went camping with my friend, and the subject popped up. She was like talking about ghost hunting conspiracy theories. We were talking about conspiracy theories, like I think it was QAnon or something. And I was like, well, as a skeptic, that's bullshit, right? I just threw out the word. I'm a skeptic. And she looks at me and she's like, I thought a skeptic was into conspiracy theories. And like, I found out that this whole time, ever since I knew this friend for 5 years or something,
longer than that,
she thought I was a conspiracy theorist and would dance around subjects like that.
Wow.
No idea what it meant to be a skeptic. And I just like lost my shit. It's like, no, that's the case. And so that's when I, lit a fire under my ass and just kind of started up a meetup group as my birthday present to myself. We've been going on for, a little over a year now. And I dragged Kirsten into it.
Yeah.
Dragged? Did he drag you, or were you interested?
Well, no, he didn't drag me. I just, I didn't know what skepticism was until I met him. And he had me read Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. And I read it and was like, well, yeah. Point already, right? I had a different upbringing. Luckily, my parents, I was raised Mormon, but they taught me to be skeptical. They're like, not everything you hear at church is true. Don't believe everything that everyone says, right? So even though they're still Mormon and they're still spiritual or whatever, they taught me to be skeptical. So I think my first thought of like, this is probably all bullshit was 19, but it took a long journey for me to get out of it. Right. And I worked briefly I got a degree in social science, and I worked briefly as a mental health counselor. And just what I learned about mental health helped me become more skeptical, because it's really about being skeptical about your feelings, and your feelings don't necessarily tell you what's real. And that was like the opposite of what I was taught growing up, was your feelings tell you what's true and what's not true. So that, helped me on my skeptical journey.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think both of those backgrounds like really help you understand better. I think it gives you a deeper understanding of how other people approach these kind of topics.
Oh,
You know,
well, I would always approach this as an asshole, right? I'd be like, no, you're wrong, and this is how we do it, and I'd get into debates and all that stuff. And Kirsten really like taught me how to try to approach the emotional side of it.
Well, and
right?
just
and how
be
to
like respectful.
be
Realize that they've been
respectful.
taught shit that's not true,
Yeah,
Right.
try to come from their side of it, right? And be more, words. Empathetic.
Words.
yes, words.
We live in Utah, which I don't know if you've heard of the drinking laws in Utah. They suck, so that means we're automatically lightweights. So just
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I can relate to some of this what you've described already. Like I had a coworker a couple years ago where I'd started this job. I was an engineer for Siemens, and I was working on X-ray machines. And I was there for a while. A guy that had worked there previously came back, and the two of us worked well together. I mean, we really worked really well together, but we overlapped our shifts. So basically we had like 3 hours every day where we hung out. And for a while, like we talked about different topics. He talked about football, which he loved, like fantasy football and all that stuff, which I have no idea how to do or care about. And I would talk about like what I would do, my investigations and stuff. And one of our other coworkers came up to me one day and they're like, so why do you believe in conspiracy theories? I was like out of nowhere. Like we didn't talk about that. That was not a topic of discussion, just out of nowhere asked. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, Zach told me that you're big into conspiracy theories. And Zach is the guy that I work with. I'm like, what? So I went back to him and we're talking, and my buddy Zach is like, you're not? Like, I thought all this talk about ghosts and Bigfoot and stuff, but you believed in all of this. And I was like, what part of debunking told you that I believed in this shit? So for about a year or so, he was telling everyone that we worked with that I fully believed in conspiracy theories, and I believed ghosts were real, Bigfoot was real, Loch Ness, aliens, anal probed people all the time. Stuff like, and I mean, he really told people that. So I was like, what? I don't get it. So we had that long talk. But then, yeah, growing up, I was raised Catholic. And mom really like drilled that home, and everything was, you have to do this. You have to go to church. You believe this, believe that. And the idea of ghosts and monsters and stuff it kind of like was a sidestep because I already believed in an afterlife, and then that led into ghost hunting. And then I had my wonderful origin story, which I told you guys when we did your show, which I can't wait to hear that when it comes out. But gosh. And then I started, getting my own idea of what skepticism was, and got into this community and really just loved it ever since. So I think just hearing your background with that growing up, I think you get really good insight into how people think and why, and the emotional part of it. And I especially like, Kirsten, that you have this idea that you have to be empathetic, because you do. I really think you do. I think being nice about it and trying to find common ground where you can work from, not coming, because Shane, I was an asshole too. I understand where you're coming from. When I first made my transition from like total believer into more skeptical train of thought, I turned my anger, because I was mad at myself because I believed this. I didn't do what I was doing. I turned my anger to everyone else. And
there's like an anger involved in that transition of like, how dare the world lie to me? Just
Right. So you form this group. You got a new name. You form this group, and So what's the Beehive Skeptics about then? What are you doing? What are you out there doing?
Well, right now, I mean, the goal, my main goal is, that conversation I had with my friend still in the back of my mind of like, what's a skeptic? You're like, aren't you guys, conspiracy
And
theorists?
didn't you have a conspiracy theorist come to one of your
And I did. I've had
because
some.
they thought
Yeah.
that they were going to be with their people.
Yeah, I've had a couple actually show up. And there was another one that was, he was like, well, climate change skeptics, right? And I'm like, no. So the main goal, I mean, top priority is just getting our names out, right? Just understanding what skeptics do. And so that's why I've been dealing with a lot of branding, right? Like putting my symbols around everywhere, putting stickers around, just kind of, and calling in the radio stations and just trying to get noticed, try to get message, just say, hey, we're here, we exist.
Right.
And so a lot of it's that, like the meetup groups that we do Skeptics in the Pub, third Tuesday of every month. And then we try to build community and, just again, let people know what skeptics do. The other side of that, however, my passion is being the asshole and proving everybody wrong. So my passion is the testing, and I really want to get more into the actual activism part, because that's what I've always saw us doing is being the activist. And so I've got a lot of inspiration from you, Kenny. So on the 27th, I officially paid for it yesterday. We're going to have a booth at the Energy Healing Conference.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I got my jar I created, inspired by your,
Oh, yay! That's nice.
Yeah, I've been sitting on this jar for a while. It was going to be like a donation jar. And then let's see. Oh, I got the post. I got some critical thinking posters I was going to put up, and then I don't know. Still looking for ideas on what else I should do. But I was thinking,
if you're looking for handouts, I can send you a few.
Yes.
And then if you want, I can send you a few like CFI, CSI stuff, stickers or whatever. If you want to do that, I can send some out for you.
Absolutely.
Cool.
All around energy healing. So Reiki, chakras, what else? Probably a lot of this pendulum stuff's in there. So my goal is to have a couple examples of these tests. And then when I went to CSIcon, one of the main things I wanted to do was talk to Jim Underdown. And I found him there, I cornered him, and I was like, hey, I want to do tests in Salt Lake, but I don't want to put out my own $10,000 challenge, which I was kind of planning on doing. Can I tie into yours? And he was like, sure. So my official challenge now, I got posters out for it and I even called the radio station yesterday to tell them about it, is that we're going to do a preliminary test here with Beehive Skeptics. And then if they pass, I personally will pay for their plane ticket to California as well as a hotel room to go take the test with Jim Underdown.
Wow.
And so that's where I'm at now, is spreading the message of that. I got some flyers. I put a few challenges out on the interwebs. We'll see. So far, no takers. So
you're going to. This is new for a group, because I haven't heard a group do this. Like I have. I've always given out Jim's card or directed people to the challenge whenever it's come up, and I've talked to some people. I've gone to some challenges on this side, on the East Coast, and I've never offered the opportunity to pay their way. So I mean, I think that's a great incentive, because it helps, because that's a big expense for people to fly out and get a hotel. You're talking probably like $800 to $1,000 just to get out there to take the test. So offering that, I think, is really, really cool. I like that. And
yeah, I was going to just do my own challenge. I was going to offer the 2,000. I was going to do 10,000, but then I found out I was just going to like take that out of my retirement fund. But then I found out that if I did that and made it tax deductible and all that, then I probably couldn't put it back. And I was like, well, I don't want to lose the money. So
right. You don't want to lose money. Yeah,
that's my retirement money.
Well, not that he's going to lose it because someone's going to pass the test. It's more that he wanted it to be available.
If I wanted to make it tax deductible, If I wanted to make it tax deductible, I'd have to put it in and not make it available. And then if I ever disallowed the company, or it would just disappear. So
right,
yeah.
And I think this is definitely the smarter choice.
Yeah.
Because there's so much. It's like when I go out and test like psychics or people that do dowsing and the pendulum and stuff like that, I don't know everything. And that's always my fear. Like I've learned a lot from a few magicians that I know, Mark Edward, Dustin Dean. I've known them guys for a while now, so I know some of their tricks, what to look for, but I don't know everything. So I'm always worried, like if I'm there just doing this myself, what am I missing? And I think it's smart for you to kind of piggyback off of Jim and the IIG or the CFIIG challenge, because that gets a wider audience, a wider panel of people that will look at this and say, all right, we can spot these tricks that you might not know about. And I know just from talking to Jim over the years, the amount of planning and this is why, so I don't know if everybody knows this, but they have so many applicants. I think they have like over 150 applicants every year. I think it was in the range of like 170-ish. And when they decide they're going to test somebody, when somebody comes up and it's their turn to be tested, the amount of planning, sometimes you can do something in a few hours. Like we did in Vegas. There was a test that we did. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We can talk about that a little later, but that was kind of easy. That was very easy. That was an easy test. It was pretty straightforward. They went back and forth, but they were discussing this for a couple of weeks. And some of these tests go on for months in order to plan it out and make sure they account for every kind of trickery that might be out there. So I think doing it the way you did was the best choice. It covers you and makes it safe because, again, we don't know everything. And it would suck if somebody got a trick by you. Just because of lack of experience. Yeah. And especially if you went ahead and had your own 10 grand, it's like, what do? You're like, we're fucked. We're fucked. Oh.
I had a few people get close, right? I was talking to somebody on an occult website on the interwebs.
They're gonna do a spell or something.
A spell. And well, they were like, what can I do to convince you? And I was like, well, double blind test. No problem. Let's do it. And so she was like looking at spells, and she was like, well, there's this one spell that she said the most impressive spell is one that we could do a protective barrier around you, and you'd get hurt but not cut or not broken.
But it's like, how do you test that?
Well, I was like, you know what? How about you do that spell on me right now, and then I'll go get one of those diabetes pricks, and we'll see if I bleed. Like let's do it.
Okay.
So, but she was like, well, it doesn't work on pinpricks. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do?
Well, that's like what out of pain that you could do.
Exactly. And then that very day, I got a shot in my hip. What happens is you start talking about the criteria, and she even said it. She was like, well, most of the time I just do it, and they notice and it works. And I'm like, well, okay, great. Have you been tracking this? Do you have a list of all the spells you did, and did you follow up with any of these people? Crickets. Didn't get anything back, So basically, the minute she starts learning
You have to pay attention.
That you have to pay attention. You actually have to do work to try and to make these
Right.
claims that it's true and this works. That they just drop off and they just stop talking to you.
Right.
There was another one that like knew the criteria and knew how a study worked, and I got excited. And he was like, we're gonna find a spell that has a real world effect. He mentioned one where like you do the spell and 3 women show up in your room.
Oh.
But I mean, it's
I will help with that test.
well,
girls.
yeah, apparently it wasn't sexual. So like, yeah, I live with girls.
Well, yeah,
so
3 girls are going to be in your room all the time.
Exactly.
We have children.
But like, he was like,
Look at him. He's like all nervous now. Like, oh shit, said the wrong thing. Yeah, keep drinking. That's all.
Yeah.
I was more like, whoa, we should test that
Yeah.
because that would be really hard if like we're talking in a sexual way.
Yeah. Well, he thought
That'd
he
be a
was
good
going
test.
to. He
Yeah,
thought he was
probably
going to.
would be really hard. Sorry.
Oh, we just gave that to
Yeah,
you
just-
on a silver platter.
Yep. Yes, you did.
He thought he was going to deter by making it hard, and was like, well, for it to be a real study, we'd have to have hundreds of participants, and we'd have to have all these people to do it. And I was like, okay, I got to sign up. Like, go talk to all the people who's willing to do the spell. I'll go talk to everybody I know who's willing to get tested or get spelled on or whatever. You have a spell cast on them. Let's fucking do it. Again, crickets, and so that's what happens. So initially I find that they're perfectly okay with the test. But then the minute they start learning, oh, that's what a double blind study is. Oh, that's, what it means to be scientific. They go.
No fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. Most that I've encountered, most people they think they'll breeze through it. It's just a normal thing where you just sit there and listen to them and they just tell you and everything is fine. And then once you start putting rules on it, because like for example, when I sit with a psychic and they know that we're sitting together, like not like an undercover kind of thing. We sit down and it's like, all right, do what you do. I usually ask, like, what exactly can you do? Are you seeing things? Are you hearing things? What exactly are you hearing? Are you hearing just sounds or words? Are you seeing blurry visions? Or like when you say you see my grandfather behind me, are you seeing like a person in clothes and you can see him just like a real person? I need to know these details in order to test you correctly. And if you change it, and that's usually what happens. If you change what you do during the test, then it's invalid. And that's usually what happens. And then we saw that with the lady with the clouds in Vegas. She had first started the test because she had claimed she could move clouds across the sky at will. And when that failed twice, then she changed it to, I can make clouds disappear. So it was a different kind of superpower. I mean, we still adapt it because it was very easy to adapt to that, and she still failed. But I see, like, if I sit with a psychic, sometimes it's like, oh, I can hear names, I can hear this, I can hear that, and when we start putting in protocols, it's like, well, I can't really do that. That's not how it works. And there's always an excuse of why it doesn't work, except for the excuse that I can't really do this.
No one's ever willing to admit that.
yeah, that never shows up. But I like that you're out there testing. I like that you're offering this test, inviting people in. I know you had almost a challenge with a Ouija board. You were right there. So
I had the criteria printed
yeah.
out. I had it all laid out in a whole document of this is exactly how this test is going to go step by step. I was just ready to go. And then that day they were like,
how did you come to tell us the story? Like, how did you get this to start?
All right. Well, it's a long story. We go into detail in our first episode of our podcast, Beehive Skeptics. Find it on Spotify. But basically, I go to a meetup group with them. It was basically talk to ghost hunters, right? And I go there, and I'm like most interested in the devices, right? I want to learn about EMP readers and all their stupid little gadgets they have, but they kept talking about, or a guy who probably has schizophrenia was there in the meeting talking about Ouija boards and demon hauntings and blah blah blah, or demon possession, and I don't know. They went off the deep end, if you ask me, but they just wouldn't step away from Ouija boards, and so I raised my hand, and my question was, what do you say to the fact that if you blindfold somebody doing a Ouija board, the effect goes away? And they say it doesn't. What do you mean? We close our eyes all the time. I'm like, oh, really? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, would you like to test that? Yeah, sure, no problem. Here's my card. And so when I got him on it, and I started I want to do this test. I absolutely want to do this test. This is what we need to do. They started jumping in, and they got really stuck on the idea of having a scribe, on having someone there with their eyes open, writing down whatever they're saying. And that was like our biggest disagreement.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
I want a double blind test. I don't want somebody in the room saying what you're saying, what you're seeing. I want it on video. Right. I want, and on top of that, I also wanted to have a video I could just post on YouTube or something. Right. So,
right.
But so the compromise we ended up coming down to was we have a camera that's streaming to a smart TV in the other room, and so you could have a scribe in there looking at the smart TV in another room. They initially agreed to that, but then almost 24 hours before, they were like, well, we didn't talk to the people who own the building we were going to do it in. I'm like, what do you mean? What are you doing? And so, but then they just started started coming up with excuses. You could tell they were getting cold feet. And then they came back 24 hours before it started, saying, what did they say? Just we're not professional enough. We think you should find some people who are more experts. And I was like, you guys were literally teaching a class, basically.
Yeah, talking about how you do this all the time.
Yeah, and claiming it was evidence for ghosts. You know what I mean? What are you doing? Of course you're the experts. Right. If you're not the experts, you fuck are. And so the whole thing. But it was fun. And what annoyed me is I bought the overhead camera mount that would go over and look down. The test criteria. Sorry, what was the test criteria? The test criteria was that we have to reorient the board. So it has to be like a circle or something that we can just flip around and make upside down or put in any direction we wanted. Right. So reorient the board. Everyone's blindfolded. Not even I can see the board. No one can see the board. And then it had to be recorded.
Yeah. I
think those were the only real three criteria. It's stupid simple. So flip the board around, blindfold. That's all you have to worry about. No.
No, they didn't want to do it. That's I think that's a common problem. When how do I want to say this? So I see classes offered all the time, online classes, or come out to our event. We'll teach you, at a library or something. We teach you ghost hunting 101, and it's all the stuff, how to use the equipment, what the equipment does, and I've gone to a couple of these where they obviously don't know what they're doing. They don't know the equipment. They don't know how it actually works. They tell you basically the TV version of what to do with it. But Ouija boards are part of it. Talking boards. They either say they're evil, pure evil, or you have to be trained on it in order to work it well, which I don't. Nobody ever tells me who can train me. That's always the question. Who can teach me?
They did say that. They said, this is the professional. They teach a class, and it's Ouija Board 101. So then I eventually went to that. And what was funny is I was completely disarmed. I went to it, and the teacher was kind of amazing because she came up and was just like, have you guys ever heard of the ideomotor effect? Well, that's what's happening. I just straight up had this disclaimer in the beginning that this is just you moving this, and you're really just asking yourself questions. It just basically explained it all right off the bat. Of course, everyone there, and then even her later, was like, "Oh, that's the ghost talker." Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so she's doing some mental gymnastics, as I call them, where she's got two ideas in her head that are competing. So she just gotta like, yeah, this is true, but this is true, and like, whoa. But it sounds really exhausting in your head.
Yeah, really. It was just hilarious though, how like instantly I was, disarmed. Can't say anything about that. That's you got it right on the head right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Funny because this is apparently the person they learned from, right? It's the ghost hunters.
Yeah. So no test. Did you try to reschedule, or they just flat out don't want to do it anymore?
They just flat out don't want to do it anymore. And that's what they said. They're like, we feel we're not the right fit to do this test.
Okay.
And I asked them who, and they led me to that one teacher, but then that teacher was just like, yeah, it's the Yomoto effect. So it's like, what are you going to do? You can't.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that still reflects badly on the original group.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, this person is the expert, and the expert says, no, it's bullshit.
Exactly.
Like,
basically said I was right.
Oh man, that sucks. Because I feel for you. I mean, you had the test set up, you had rules, you had protocols, you had the equipment, you spent money on specific equipment so that you could set this up. And
my goal was to have the video. Really wanted to put it out there, and because it would interest people. Like even at my work, I'd go around and I was excited. I was like, I'm going to test this Ouija board, and people who never heard of skepticism got super excited about it at my work. They're like, oh really? Oh, that's so cool, And we'd have these whole conversations about it. So it really excited people, and I wanted to have that video in that kind of way to because no one really cares about a Ouija board. It's not most of the time it's not this deeply held belief that people will get mad at you for. So for the most part, it's an easy in, an easy
way to get people thinking about skepticism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I have I don't have it with me. So I built a planchette that's cut in half. It's a top and a bottom part, and it's separated by ball bearings. So it's attached, and if you try to push the top moves. So if you try to push the planchette, the top moves first, and I use that. It's really neat. I actually got it from Faraday. Faraday built a table for table tipping, and he had a separate top that was separated from the actual table by ball bearings, and it was for table tippers because it showed that they were pushing it. And so I scaled it down to a planchette, and it works great. You put your fingers on it, and as soon as you try to push it, just the top moves first. And it gives you about a ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch of movement before the bottom, locks in and follows it. So I take that with me, and it's funny the reaction that I get, because some people will look at it, and as soon as they see the Ouija board, because I built my own Ouija board for it, they see it and they're going, no, I'm not touching that. I'm not touching it at all. And they're freaked out. And I have to explain, this is just a tool. It's just a tool. They want nothing to do with it. Other people will come over and say, oh, look at it. That's pretty cool. That's really neat. I'm like, yeah, you want to try it? No, we don't want to try it.
Yeah.
But that goes with my, the dowsing rod rig that I have, the pendulum tester. It's all very easy, simple, do-it-yourself kind of gadgets that you can put out on a table and let people play with it. And have them just go at it, and it kind of shows them, especially the dowsing rod rig. I love that thing because none of the dowsers, this has been years I've used it, and none of them can make it work.
Did you ever, did you make that yourself? Because I might need to try and make that rig myself and see what I did
not. A good friend of mine, Mitch Silverstein, made it. He had built it years ago, and he sent me one of the first ones he made so I could play with it and test it. I was like, this is great. And he made a bunch he was going to sell on his website, but nobody bought them. And I was like, well, I don't think too many like people that believe dowsers are real. I don't think they're going to your website. They're not interested. So I actually ended up buying all the stock he had. It's like every kit that he had. And then I took them to paranormal conventions with me. So I set them up and I showed people the device. When they really loved it, I was like, I have them for sale. So I sold them all. I have to make more. I want to make some more. And I actually want to, that's one of my projects here. I'm going to get all the parts, make a bunch, and just start sending them out to people, to groups that I know.
Because I haven't seen this rig. What exactly are you doing?
She hasn't seen it.
Is it too hard to explain?
Basically locking in the dowsing rods so you can't move them separately.
So it's basically, it's 2 acrylic blocks, and there's holes drilled into it. There's set screws on each block or each hole. So you take the handles of the dowsing rods and you literally lock them in these blocks. So now you have like a kind of a square steering wheel, and it stops this. You can't do that at all. And then on the bottom bar, there's a bubble level. So if they do that, I know it. If they do this, I know it. So basically let them get into their set position and say, all right, ask your questions or find water. Last weekend, I had them set up on the table and I just had a bottle of water sitting in between the rods because they didn't move. They didn't do anything. Yeah. So it's a great rig. I'll get a picture of it later and I'll send it to you so you can see what it looked like.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah, we were just talking about this offhand, but so I don't think we said it on the thing. But we're going to have the energy healing conference, right? And I stole your design for the jar for people seeing this. I got the pendulum there. And
that's nice.
I actually did something interesting here. I can't get into it, but I put a toothpick, or not a toothpick, paper clip through the chain there.
Oh, through the chain, yes.
So you can almost, if you don't break the chain, there you go. So
that's nice.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that. That's actually
the table here kind of moves it, but
yeah.
I think that's a better design than what I have, because I just glued a clamp on the top on the lid. So that I think it was just what I had around. I was like, oh, let me put this. But I like that because that sticks it right in the chain.
Well, I even did the same thing on the bottom, and so it's like doubled with the 2 paper clips on the bottom.
That's good. That's good.
So there you go.
Yeah, I'll take pictures of the other stuff that I have too and send it to you so if you feel like making them. Because I'm not territorial. I like sharing this kind of stuff because if you guys can go out especially to an energy healing conference, holy shit, put it out there.
Yeah,
you're gonna get
So I mean, that's the problem. Like some of these people take it like their own religion. So I really feel like I'm gonna a little pure confrontation. I'm a little scared about it, but we'll see.
You know what? Just be nice. Have that as your philosophy. That's your outlook. When I go, last weekend I went to a paranormal conference. Set up my whole table. It says CSI, Skeptical Inquirer magazines on the front. All these testing tools. I have a big booth that looks like Lucy's stand from Peanuts. It says the Skeptical Help Bar. So it's a full cardboard and PVC stand that I build. And it's that actually helps because people see that and they usually smile because they know what it is and they're like, oh, that's cool. So it's not as confrontational. But even when they come up and ask what it is, and so many people were like, what's Skeptical Inquirer? I don't know what is this magazine? And I would explain it and just say, I test things, I investigate, this is what I do. I just do it from a scientific point of view. And if they have questions, I answer them and just be nice about it. And it usually works, except for the one flat earther that came to my table, which she pissed me off.
What did you do?
Well, you know what? I love conversation.
You love confrontation?
No. I love conversation. I love conversation.
Okay, sorry. stuff out of this big here. I thought you said I love confrontation. I was like, wow. Kenny.
Confrontation. I mean, I don't love it, but I'm used to it. I know it's part of my job. But I try to do it in the nicest way possible. I don't want to have a fight. I want to have a conversation.
And this is a flat earther at the Ghost Hunters Conference?
Yes.
Okay. Set the scene. Set the stage. Okay.
Setting the stage. Talking to ghost hunters. I've talked to psychics. I have psychics like right across from me in the aisle. Everything. I'm talking to everybody. It's cool. This person comes up, picks up an issue of Skeptical Inquirer, and looks at it and goes, "So, are you supposed to be the skeptic?" And like the sneer on her face was like, all right, just calm down. And I said, well, I'm one of the skeptics. That's it. I'm just a skeptic. I'm here talking about science and this and that. She's like, so what do you believe in then? And I was like, I believe in science. I think science is the best tool we have, because usually when it screws up, science is the one that fixes that screw up. And we keep trying to correct ourselves. She's like, oh, you believe in the science? And it was almost like I almost heard the music in my head going, dun, dun, dun. And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh. Throws the magazine down on the table. And like her face just went, yeah, whatever. I have my own ideas of what is going on. And all I could think of was, you threw my fucking magazine down. You threw it down in anger. Like, that's not cool. And my wife was right next to me. She had a crafting table. And she, like, usually I ask questions. Like, that's a prime moment. Like, I'm going to ask questions. But she said, she looked at me and she's like, oh shit, your face was red. I went, skeptic arms. I was like, okay, you have your own version. I don't know if we need to talk. And that was it. I was just so mad the way she just handled that I didn't want to talk to her. And as soon as she left, I regretted that. I really did, because I wanted to engage. I lost my temper. I didn't yell or anything like that. I just refused to talk to her, and I really don't like doing that. I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to be like, are you like the kind of flat earther that just thinks we're a disc, or is there like a chunk of ground underneath?
I have so many questions for them as well, because I just can't get it through my head.
I found these pins, right? I bought a whole bunch of them, and I'm going to try and sell them. I'm going to try and sell them at the booth, right? See if I can get some people to buy some stuff, right? But I wanted to show you this because I think I'd really piss off the flat earther.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I have a polo shirt that has the NASA symbol and says not flat. We checked. And I love wearing that to like Comic Cons and stuff like that. But yeah, that was the only time I kind of got angry, and I kept my cool. I didn't like lash out or anything. I really don't like doing that, so I didn't. But I was hoping that she would come back so I could talk and ask questions like, how'd you get here? Did you drive? Like science did that. How'd you find the place? Did you use a GPS, a global positioning sensor to get here? Like, I had so many, like it was the after effect. Like they're gone, the moment's over, and I was like, I have 1,000 questions in my head. Missed opportunity.
But she touched your magazine in an inappropriate, non-consensual way. And I support your decision.
Wow. That really sounds dirty the way you said it. But yes, I agree. 100%. Yeah. I mean, I have conversations with everyone. I mean, there was a psychic that was across from me, and I approached her after the conference was over. We were cleaning up, and I said, hey, I'd like to ask you a question. I have a concern. And it was like, oh shit, this guy that's been sitting across from me with a skeptic table is now coming up. And I was polite. I said, hey, like you on your banner, you say medical medium. What's that mean? Are you diagnosing people? And she, no, that was something that was put on by somebody else. And I just tell people I feel like they have pain and they should go to the doctor. And I'm like, are you diagnosing people? Have you ever told anyone to go off their medication? No. And then she told me that she was taking it off. She was getting new bannered and taking that off. And I was like, all right.
Wait, she's people to go to the doctor. I'm sorry, what?
Well, and I could attest to this, Kay. So again, my mom was super into this. And so I can tell you that they absolutely like diagnose and say you have cancer, we're going to cure this and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
They absolutely, it's just behind closed doors. So anything public, because guess what was on my flyer for the Energy Healing Conference when I signed up for it? A little disclaimer saying, do not say you can diagnose anything. It is against the law.
Right.
And so publicly they learn not to do this.
Yeah, but I've been diagnosed by energy healers before when I was younger, and then they just heal it. And so I could just assume oh, I had this issue. I paid you money. You healed it. Yay. Yeah.
And anytime you call them out on that, it's that because they know it's against the law. So they always backtrack. Right. And they're, no, right. I don't do that. That's not what I do, but it's like,
kind of do. And
really using energy healing. I hate that they're using that word healing, what exactly are you healing,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's the mechanism? How is this? I should be able to measure this. And that's the confusing part between when we have a conversation, when I'm having a conversation with someone that claims some kind of superpower, it's like, what's the mechanism? If you are affecting me, that should be measurable.
Yeah, I was having this discussion with Tammy, with the leader of with the leader of the Energy Healing Conference. Her name's Tammy, and I was having this discussion with her. I was like, "What? How have we tested this?" She's like, "Here are all these studies." We were going. It was a whole thing.
We talked about this in one of our episodes.
Yeah, episode 2
on your podcast. Yeah. I listened to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but one of the things she said was, people will keep saying, you can't test this, and my answer to them is always, if it has an effect in the real world, then I can test that effect. If there's an effect, we can test the effect. If there's not an effect, what the fuck you doing?
Yeah, if you can't prove that you're helping anyone, then that would have a result.
What are you charging for? If you can't help anyone, what are you charging so much money for?
Yeah.
It kills me. All right, we are just about at an hour, so we're going to take our break. For everyone that's watching, stay. Actually, go pee, come back, refill your glass, not with the pee, but come back with another drink. Some people are weird. I don't know who watches this show.
Let them do their thing, Kenny. Jeez.
But we are going to come back. I'm going to take a 4-minute break. I can't talk. I need to drink more. 4-minute break, and we're going to come back with Q&A. So this is your chance out there in the chat room to post your questions. If you have questions for the Beehive Skeptics, if you want to know how they work, what they do, what they've tested, maybe their approach to something, start putting your questions in the chat room so we can get to them in the second hour. Let's see. I'm going to put the banner up too. There we go. Look at that. It's time for a Biddle piddle. That's right, Bob. It's break time. That's what we do. We piddle and then we come back and do the rest of the show. But yeah, that's it. 4 minutes, and we're going to take our break right now. I love that music. What's up? How you guys doing? Oh, we changed up. We got a can. What do we got? What's that?
I got water, but it's in a very threatening looking can.
I
Liquid
like that.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Liquid.
All right. I think people are shy. We don't have a lot of questions. We do have one question that we can put up there. Thank you, Tim. What are some challenges you faced building Beehive Skeptics, and how did you overcome them?
Well, still
We're
not overcoming them.
Yeah.
No.
We're still working.
The biggest challenge is I am literally doing all this myself. It's my own money. It's my own time. It's my own everything.
Right.
So how I overcome it is people like you donating. We are a 501c3, by the way, now officially,
Good.
as well as donating your time and helping me out and doing your own investigations, joining me, being a backup for me over at the Energy Healing Conference, so I don't, start throwing punches.
He's a pacifist.
I'm
I'm more likely to go dark side than he is.
I sense
right button.
that.
It's like, oh, we're gonna go. So yeah, but I'll be fine.
I hear you. I mean, you know what? This is your first of that type of conference, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it is.
Just bank all of your patience leading up to the conference. Just bank it all and use it for that one day, because you're gonna hear some really seriously fucked up shit. To be blunt. I've been to.
Yes.
I've been to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I'm ready. I just get curious when people start saying weird shit. Like, I really want to get in their head, so I get excited by people's crazy a little bit. So that's gonna be fun for me. But what were you gonna say?
It's always interesting. Many of the ones that I've been to, like I've been to psychic fairs, which are just mostly psychics and mediums that are doing their services, if you want to call it that, and then like lots of crystals and jewelry and stuff like that. Up here in Buffalo, I've gone to a psychic fair up here that was a wide range of stuff, where like you had the magnetic bracelets that did all kinds of things. I have a whole video. I'm trying to get a medical expert to help me decipher some of this stuff and comment on the alleged claims. But like bracelets that kind of heal almost anything. And I forget the name of it, but one person was looking at your eyeball, your iris, and looking at it and mapping it out, and they had a whole eye. Another person had 2 plasma lamps. Like, they were literally like plasma balls on either end of a table, and having someone lay down, and they were healing all kinds of stuff. So I have a bunch of video of me going through and just looking at these people and talking to them. And one that I came across was doing the organ. I forget the pronunciation. It's basically, it's what is it? Acrylic?
Dysentery?
Acrylic.
Dysentery.
On the Oregon Trail. It's basically oh my god, I don't think it's acrylic. Maybe it is acrylic. It's a disc. He was selling discs that had like crystals in it and metal flecks like all throughout it. And he was telling me that it was, you could communicate Oregon. Thank you, Daniel. You could communicate with the mothership. And I was like, whoa. And like, I did one of these. I was walking by and I heard him say that. I was like, whoa, what? What are we talking about here? And he's telling me all about, like, if you held it a certain way, you could recharge from the mothership your energy. Everyone drink. I don't know if I explained that to you. We have a game here that when people use the word energy in the wrong context, we drink.
Nice.
Yes.
it's led to some really messed up shows. But yeah, like I had a conversation with that guy that was just phenomenal. Like I loved it because it was so out there.
Sounds so
And he
fucking
had me
weird.
sit in a chair with all this stuff like underneath the chair because it would cleanse my aura and all this kind of stuff. So you're gonna have fun. You're gonna have a lot of fun.
Surprised. I mean, because my mom's brought a lot of weird shit home, but I'm always surprised. But she, for years, and she still does it, she had this like foot bath that was supposed to be cleansing. And I was like, and she was like, look at all the gunk in it, because afterwards it would get really dirty. I'm like, well, why don't we run it? And this was before I knew anything about skepticism, but I just kind of was naturally skeptic, shit. And I was like, well, why don't we just run it and see if it produces gunk? And we did, and it was the same amount of gunk. And I'm like, see, I don't think that's doing anything. And she was just like, but yeah.
Parents have that too, and they actually like had a booth at these conferences before and like made money like doing this for people.
Yeah.
The same foot gunk cleaner thingy bobber,
and it's
whatever
like
they call it.
It's cleansing you, but like, do you even feel better? I mean, obviously it's not cleansing you, but I'm just not understanding like the desire. I guess that's why I'm here now.
I think there's a placebo effect going on where the belief is just so.
Yeah. I'm not good at
It's
lying
so-
to myself. I like wait for the evidence. I'm like, well, it's not working. Why is it working for everyone else but not me?
Yeah. Well, maybe their feet are just dirty. Like
really
Yeah.
nasty. Yeah. It's my it's the bad.
Drink. Bob says I bought those foot pads that takes all the toxins out of your body just to experiment with it. Yeah, it didn't work.
That's out of your foot.
They had this like shock pad thing.
They were like shocking themselves, and then my kids were playing with it
They're
and
like,
shocking
Shane, come here.
themselves.
Sit down, put your feet here. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. What's going on?
They basically have a thing that's electrocuting you, and I had to tell my kids to stop playing with it because I was like,
it was painful.
I don't think this is like a good thing for you to be messing with. Woo!
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
But
you're gonna
apparently
see some weird shit.
So, yeah.
It's fun.
weird.
And
Yeah,
just be patient, and like curiosity just gets me all the time. Like I'm just curious. Like, tell me about this. What does this do? Resin. That's what the word I was looking for. Resin. So these discs are made of resin. And my wife, who does crafts and she does resin stuff, she was looking at the things going, I know where that mold is. I know I have that mold. I do that. I do that. Like we found all the components, all the flex, the metallic flex we found at the dollar store. They sold them in packs for $1. And I mean, I'm ashamed to admit it, but I paid $60 for a resin 6-inch disc with sparkles in it.
Hey, but now you can communicate with the mothership.
Yeah, I
Kenny.
mean, can you put a price on that?
Yeah.
I mean, I tried, but I don't think they're talking to me.
Yeah,
because
Kenny, we don't want to.
I mean, I talk to them, they don't talk back. So I don't know. I think I got duped out of. So there you go. All right. Next question. What do we got there? If the Earth were flat, what would be the benefit in hiding it? Thoughts?
What?
I guess the idea here is that if for the flat earthers, like if the Earth was flat, their idea is that it's conspiracy where the governments all over the world is trying to. Yeah,
I got it. Okay.
Oh, he's putting his glass down, y'all. He's leaning in.
As you know, okay, the Earth is
He's
flat.
serious.
Serious.
Yes.
The Earth is flat.
Does water fall off the edge? Because I really want to know.
It's an ice wall.
Got it. Ice wall.
Trying to say this with a straight face.
Boom.
The Earth is flat, and underneath it is the almighty turtle.
Turtle.
Yeah.
Turtle
That
all
we
the way
live
down.
Turtle shell is made out of this super rare, special shit that has energy
Wait, are you making this up, or is someone?
Of course I'm making this up.
Well, because I don't know. Because I joined this group once just to understand how people thought, and that's when I learned about the lizard people. I had no idea. I was like, "Are these people? Is this satire?"
I was just thinking of the most outrageous answer to that question I could think of.
Dude, if you post that online in this group, people will start to write that. We're like, "Yeah, it's the fucking turtle. That's what's going on."
Well, that is one of the beliefs that it's not necessarily flat Earth, but I know like the Earth is on top of the shell of a turtle, and then when you ask what's the turtle standing on, what was that?
I said they're mining resources from that turtle. Wake up, sheeple.
They're digging into the turtle, and then what's the turtle standing on? Another turtle. And there's turtles all the way down. Like that's the idea. There's just infinite.
Yeah.
It's
I think I had like a trip on the turtles. Honestly, it's sounding.
Honestly, the question. I mean, they're. I can't think of a reason why you would hide it. Like if the world was flat, which is it's not. If it was, why hide it?
That is a good question. I'm going to ask that. Yeah.
There's absolutely no benefit.
Because I bet there's some weird shit that they're thinking about.
Yeah. All right. What else we got, Tim? Bob, I will ask my favorite question to ask. What book are you currently reading or that you have mostly recently read? Damn it, Bob. Why are you doing that? Most recently read, Bob. Grammar, bitch.
Let's see.
I read like 5 books at once. You should probably go first.
I hardly read. I'm trying to read more. I'm a millennial.
I see the thousands of books behind you. How can you not read?
This is my fucking bookshelf.
This is her bookshelf.
Oh.
I recently, hold on. I recently got into something.
He's got to go now. He recently read the Douglas Adams book. The big old thick one with all the books in it. It was mine, and I was like, "Read this."
Well, I've been getting into these super fancy, cool books. You can get Dune.
Yeah.
With
at Barnes & Noble.
And another book he hasn't read, but I have.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the movies.
But I got one like this that was the Foundation series. I finally read that. God, I hated it. It sucked. Guys, Foundation sucks.
Wow. I haven't read it.
I just lost a lot of followers there.
They're like,
and then I just finally finished Douglas Adams, the whole complete unabridged guide. It's like that freaking thick. And now I'm reading Skeptic's Guide to the Future.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I read like 5 books at once, not including my research books. So
I'm the same way.
Yeah, it's a problem. I just got a stack because, sometimes I'm in different moods. I've been working on the Agony and the Ecstasy for the longest. That's the one that's been sitting there the longest. I recently got a graphic novel. I went to see David Sedaris on Wednesday. He recommends books, and he recommended a graphic novel, Penny, about this cat just being in a cat's head, and it's freaking hilarious. He explained it as a cat is like a creature that's done acid for too long, and so I've been liking that one.
Wow.
So
I can relate. I usually have I read several books at the same time. It's not based on my mood, it's based on where I am at the time. So like here, this is the book that I'm reading now. Gory Detail.
We bought that one. I'm excited.
Yeah. Really good. So far I love it. But that's here. So if I'm sitting at this desk, let me be specific. If I'm sitting at this desk, I'm reading this book. If I'm sitting over here, yes. If I'm over here, then it's currently Weird New Jersey.
Nice.
That's that. And if I'm over here, well, I was actually writing or reading a review, or I had to write a review for this. It's a children's book and they
nice.
sent me the PDF. So I've been reading that if I'm sitting like closer to that side. So it really depends on where I'm sitting, what I'm reading.
I thought you meant like sitting in like your house, like different rooms, not literally like 2 feet away from
I thought you
each
meant
other.
metaphorically. Like,
Well, I do that too. So I have a book on the coffee table. So when I'm in my spot in the living room, I have my own spot on the couch. There's a book in front of me that I can read. I have a book on the shelf next to my in bed. So when I lay down, I have a book. I reach over, pick it up, read it, and then I have a book. I have one in my car just in case I'm bored and I have to pull over somewhere and like grab something to eat. I'm like, oh well, I'll read a book.
Yeah.
And I usually always have the latest issue of Skeptical Inquirer, free plug, with me in my backpack. So I read that. But yeah, that's what I do all the time. And I like it because I can pick up, like it's as soon as I pick up a book, no matter where I am, I remember exactly where I was and I continue with the story. There's no issue about like, oh, what am I talking about? What was the scene? Or I love it. Love it. All right. Next question. Tiffany, do you have a problem with people claiming you're attacking their religion or beliefs by being skeptical? I know I have, especially in Utah. Ooh.
Oh yeah. So there's a funny story with that actually, with the Ouija board thing, because like I created an event in Meetup, and in Meetup, like, which is supposed to be a private group, for the most part of just skeptics, right?
Right.
And I say, okay, we're gonna go to the lesson, the class.
Learn how
And
to do
I wrote in there, we're gonna try and stay respectful. We're gonna maybe ask some questions. Maybe some of these questions will be problematic, but we'll stay nice, And this person writes, like, basically got in a huge debate with me over like, how dare you show up and criticize these people? They're just practicing their quote unquote religion and spiritual beliefs, and she just felt so attacked by just.
Well, she didn't even necessarily
there.
believe it, but it seemed like she was just angry that you were showing up when you were a skeptic.
Oh well, she believed it. She was kind of like the teacher. She kind of knew how to disarm.
Right. Yeah.
Like, well, it could be this, but it couldn't be. I got in like an all-day debate with her, and it basically came down to, you just don't want me to exist. Like, just me existing seems to offend you.
Yeah. Well, existing in a space where she doesn't want you to be, like gay people on Temple Square.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that kind of situation. Like, know your place and don't fucking go outside of it.
Wow.
So we had people years ago. There was a gay couple that kissed on Temple Square, and they like got fucking tackled.
Oh.
And it was on the news, and like the Daily Show did a thing. Jon Stewart did a whole thing on it. So
wow. Yeah, and I've been kind of learning it's the same thing. Yeah, I mean, not necessarily the same thing. I'm not getting physically assaulted, but like people seem to just being there seems to trigger a response. And
right.
Even though he's being curious about it, like, yeah, he'll ask hard questions, but he's not like, but he is coming at it at a curious place of like, well, what about this? And what about that? And getting people to think about it. Yeah. And it's still.
Yeah. Like at this point, I may be a little jaded, but I'm still like open to the idea of there being a supernatural. It's just, it's been a question for so long. I'm pretty jaded about it. So I may come across that way, but it's not, but like sometimes, I'm still trying to approach it in a way of like, I genuinely want to know,
Right. And that's how I approach it. Anytime I talk to somebody at a paranormal themed convention, that's the approach that I'm trying to present, that I'm not trying. I don't dismiss things out of hand. I really don't do that. I want to listen to you. And that's one of the things that's probably one of the biggest compliments that I get, is that I do listen. I don't just shut people up. I don't say, no, halfway through their story. I want to hear your whole story, because I think you had an experience. You had something happen. We're just not sure what that was. We don't know the cause of it. So let's try to talk this out. Let's think it through and see if we can come up with possible solutions. I can't say 100%, but I might be able to give some insight from a different perspective.
Well,
So I'm
like
always
that's what I could do a lot too. So I just relate to that because when I was working as a therapist, there was a lot of people creating this reality based on experiences they had, drawing nefarious conclusions that were total bullshit. And, I have to kind of carefully walk them through their thought process and have them question each step. And so it just seems like it's very much the same thing, because a lot of people do create conclusions. And we talked about this a little bit when we interviewed you, that are like harmful to them in believing in some of this stuff, but like they can't let it go but it means something, but it's also hurting you and it's scaring you and it's holding you back. And like, is this really even real? And I think just approaching it that way,
I think sometimes, it's such a worldview. And I've been there. Like the belief was part of my worldview. I mentioned earlier, I was raised Catholic. So when I started dropping out of that, it was scary because it was like, that's all I knew. That's what I've been raised on. That's all I ever thought I knew. And to not do it and know that there was supposed to be repercussions, there was punishment if I didn't go to church or I didn't do this. It was, I was scared shitless, and I still did it. And I still came out of it and I realized, all right, I'm not getting punished. Nothing bad is happening except for the normal shit that usually happens in life. And then transferring that over to like this question, when people think you're attacking, that's why I try to be as nice as possible. I don't want to come off as attacking. I don't want to be that guy, that guy that just, raises his hand during a tour or a lecture and goes, well, what about this? And puts them on the spot. I'd rather go off to the side and say, hey, like I heard you say this during your lecture. I don't agree with this, and here's why. And just have a nice conversation about it. So I don't like to go in and attacking. I mean, I used to, and I don't think that was the good idea. That wasn't a good idea. That just created conflict, fights, and people just didn't want to talk to me anymore. So, but I like that. I like that you guys are curious. You come from it from a curious point of view, and you're asking.
And I feel it could be empowering to them too.
Yeah,
I guess. Again, I think probably because of my mental health background, but just when you do leave, like how you're saying you left, it was scary, but you get to the other side of that, like you realize that how much that was controlling you and affecting your ability to like make decisions that were right for you. And so I see it as, if people are open, there's an opportunity to really help them in their life, even though it might be hard at first for them. So
I think there's a misconception about the idea of being open.
Right.
And in my experience, and let me know your experience with this, but my experience is that usually from a believer's point of view, the idea of being open means I'm going to tell you my story and you're going to believe it. That's it. Where my idea of being open is I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to hear your story. I'm going to consider the information that you gave me and weigh it against what I already know or have knowledge of, and then determine whether I'm going to accept it or not. That's open to me. But it's not the same.
That's what I learned being open was. And so for a long time, I thought, well, if I'm going to be open-minded, I just have to accept everybody and what they say. And there's a lot of shit that I look back and I was just like, oh, girl, no. you didn't need to do that. You could be closed-minded about some things. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll consider anything. I'll consider whatever somebody tells me, but in the end, I'm going to make the decision for myself, and I'm going to research it. I just don't accept people, and I think that's hard for when you engage with the paranormal community, the overall community. I think there's a how do I want to say it? almost like a tribal, not a tribal knowledge, but a tribal reflex that if someone tells you a story, you accept it as true. That's it.
Yes.
Nobody questions anyone else.
No.
And then when you start questioning, now you become that guy, like,
Right.
how dare you question me?
When I was at that paranormal ghost hunter Q&A, I kind of learned how they do this. It's like a yes and session, right? Because there was this medium who was there talking about how she talks to these ghosts, and there's not really ghosts, there's elemental, and everybody's like, yeah, elementals. And then this ghost, she went into this whole huge story about what the motivations behind ghosts are. And every time she'd say something, they'd be like, yeah, and this and this and this. And she'd be like, yeah, and this and this and this. And yeah, and I just watched them build this story. And I wish I remember what it was, but it was like basically ghosts are ghosts move on when you do something. I don't know, but it's just, but like by the end, it was we've decided this is true. And I was telling Sue, who I was with at the time, I was like, just watch next session. They're going to be saying that like it's fact.
I've seen that a lot, and it's hard to approach with some of my friends because I'm just like, I do want to just put, first of all, it's, I'm hanging out with my friends. I want to just say like, well, I don't see that, or that's not what I understand about that. Right. And it is hard because they're like, looking at me, but why don't you get what I'm saying? Because obviously like this is like just a fact. We all know this is fact, right? And so I do, with friends and family, I do approach it more lightly, and because it's difficult.
It's what, it gets easier the further along you go. At least this is my experience, because I've been vocal about it, and I do approach it like any whether it's friends, family, or people I don't know. I always try to approach it the same way. Like, be nice, be kind about it, be polite, and speak professionally. Like, this is business to me, not personal. So I speak my mind, but I'm polite about it. And over the years, people understand it. So now most of the time, friends, family, acquaintances, they know I'm going to have a different opinion. So it's not as like shocking. And when new people come,
it's harder because I've got it's pushing against some of my values of like, I'm their confidant. They're used to being able to come to me and share personal stuff. And so now I have some of them like, but I know that this might not be true. And like, I know I might be thinking about it wrong, and they almost have anxiety just sharing something with me. And so it's like, an order of priorities of like, well, right. I may lead you in that direction if I feel it's best for your mental health and you're asking my advice, but I also want them to come say weird shit to me. Like, I heard some weird shit today, that was in confidence. And I was just like, okay, that's your reality. But, I don't want to be like, you should question everything you're saying. Even,
well,
what I mean?
Like
so it's
that.
Like, how do you do that?
It does come up sometimes because like I'll be asked, someone will show me a picture or tell me an experience. And the most common one is after someone had died, like a loved one has died. And they tell me they had an experience where they saw them or they heard them, they felt them. And it's almost like they're hesitant to tell me because they don't want me to explain it away. And my first reaction is always like, look, like, does this make you feel comfort? Yes. Okay. Are you going out to preach to the world that this is absolutely 100% true? No. Well, then I have nothing to say. I really don't have anything to say, because if it's just a personal experience that gives you comfort and you're not preaching it like it's absolute fact, then who am I to spoil that? It's not my place. I have nothing to say. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it brings you comfort, and so be it. That's it. that's the end of it. I mean, they want to pursue it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just the for me, that's the right thing to do. There's no reason to explain it. They don't want an explanation usually. And again, they're not going out there writing a book or doing a lecture series, telling everybody you have to believe this. It's a personal thing, and that's it. So I think after explaining some of that and having some of those experiences with people or those conversations, it's not as scary to come to me with hey, this happened to me. What do you think?
Yeah.
And I'm always going to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not the expert. I don't have a background in psychology or counseling or anything like that. But if you need it, I can refer you to people. I know people that do this.
Haunted.
Yeah.
As Kenny. Worried about sleeping at night. I could let you know you're fine.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Tim's right on the ball. I love this. Practice question for your event. What harm does it do?
So who would be asking this question?
Oh, well, first of all, just
shit. Here we go.
Like what harm does the energy, the people they're doing?
Like energy healing, psychics, and
I know this one very well. And I did talk about it on one of the podcasts because I was in that world for a while and I had so many people. And I was a mental health therapist and I was confused, as you can see. And I had so many people telling me how to do things that were against what I wanted, what was right for me, right for my mental health. And when I'd be like, well, no, I don't think that works for me. No, this is what I got. This is what I got. And this is what you need to do. And this is what's right for you. And we did this with Shane he didn't mention this, but we're gathering psychic readings and getting together all their predictions, whether they came true or not, whether they're vague, And so he did some personal ones and he took my friend Lauren, and one of the things she used to be my sister-in-law. So I was about to say my sister. She had a prediction that she should wash her whole body in cold water. And she has like this syndrome, and I forgot what it was, where like being cold like causes physical pain. And so they're literally giving her advice that would cause her physical pain. And I've had incidences of people that have been told to take certain drugs, do certain things, they've had psychotic breaks. And so I've seen a lot of damage done in that world, especially if they have like a real serious mental illness. It's just problematic. So
for anyone curious, that's the misses right there. It's pretty big. That's the hits right there.
We got a few going. We're going to make a bigger list.
So the goal is, this is actually something anyone can get involved in. So if you're in Utah and you want to help with this is another thing. It's just me. So if you want to come help, you could actually ask access to that file. It's also public. So let's see, groups / Beehive Skeptics. It's one of the pinned posts there. You could find it there and toy around with it. But the goal is like people in our group get their own personal readings, and then they put it up here and we just keep track of them.
Okay, so cool. I like that a lot. That's nice. All right, Tim. So Mike, hi Mike. What's the weirdest thing that's happened in an investigation or at a conference? Looking for an interaction that still makes you go, what the fuck?
I also want to know this.
What's the weirdest thing that's happened in an investigation or at a conference? At a conference?
Going back into his childhood. What's the weirdest thing your mom said to you?
Ooh, what is the weirdest thing?
Oh, she said a lot.
That's a good question.
At a conference. I've had, there's been weird things all the time, but usually it's the situation. Like I've had someone come get me to have a psychic reading. They came down and said, I'm going to pay for you to have a reading. Brought me up to the psychic, and the psychic looked over and went, just shook her head. And like, absolutely not. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, the guy that brought me up was like, I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for the session. I signed up on the sheet. And she was like, nope, no, not doing him. So I thought that was weird because I at the time I didn't know who it was, and I was like, "What? Why not?" And well, no, just won't do. Like, didn't say anything. Didn't say you're a skeptic. You're not going to believe anyway. Was just like terrified, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I've had a psychic do a tarot card reading on me, and 2 questions in, she gave me my money back and said, I can't read you. You have something, and this is her, not me. You have something black around you, and I won't read you. And I think that's because she asked me 2 questions, and I refused to answer them. I was like, I'll tell you later. Because I don't like answering questions. If I sit down for any kind of reading and you ask me a question, whether it's like, has your mother passed, or I'm seeing a male figure, could it be your father? I don't answer any question. So I didn't, and she couldn't read me. So she gave me my money back.
Hey, at least she gave you your money back.
Yeah. I mean, that was good because it was at someone's home. They had like one of the things where like a bunch of friends come over and they have one psychic come over and do read everyone. And I was the last one. I made sure I told my friend, I was like, you might want to put me last because I don't want to piss everyone off because it's going to happen. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's never been anything like weird because like I look for weird. That's what we look for. So I'm like, all right, let me. Oh,
it's not a conference though. It's just my childhood. I guess I was older by this time, but my mom spent, she like inherited a bunch of money when her mom died. She spent a huge portion of it sending in pictures of all of her kids and grandkids to this place where they would send healing energy to the whole family, to every picture throughout the whole year. And I'm just like, and at this time I wasn't even like, I mean, I still believed in some weird shit, but it's like, she was always taking it to a point where I was like, I can't go where you're going because it's too far. But I, it's just like, I didn't really say anything. And then later she was like, she ended up having the worst year. She had multiple health issues and she just couldn't understand why this was happening when she paid all this money and they're supposed to be sending her energy. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Because you just been like basically, you were in a vulnerable place. Your mom just died and some fuckwit took advantage of you. Is basically what happened. So yeah, that one was weird. Like they could actually get people to pay for that. And I don't remember the amount, but I remember it being way expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's a few. I forget the guy. He's done commercials on TV. I forget who it was. He's like, oh, get on this website and we'll send you a special gift from God and the Lord, and we'll put you on the list and we'll pray for you, and you'll have like great days and great weeks and great years. And I remember doing it one year. Like, I'm like, all right, let me see. Logged onto the website, signed up for the newsletter, and every other day I have a shoebox full of letters that were like not your 8x10 or 8.5 by 11. They were the full, like big long sheet. Whoa. Maybe like 3 or 4 of those in each letter, all asking for money every other day for a month. Like, and I started posting pictures of this and showing like the little gifts. One was it was a piece of red thread, just like yarn that was the color red, and it was a special one where I had to tie it in a knot and send it back with my donation. Oh, Peter Pawlow. Yes, that's it. Thanks, Jade Kitten. If I sent this back with like $20 donation, I was going to get riches beyond my belief, and I never sent anything. But like I said, I have a shoebox full of these letters with these cheap ass toys that must be from like a sweatshop somewhere where it's just cheap plastic, but based on like one's a biblical horn, but it's the cheapest toy that you would get like from a Cracker Jack box. It's just shit. But yeah, I that's go ahead.
Kirsten doesn't know the story about Peter Popoff. We're saving it for our next podcast.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of stuff about skepticism. I mean, as far as the so he's
such a great story.
React to it basically.
They want to know what the cat's name.
Yes,
the small one over there that was in the tree is Bunny.
She's I'm like, get in the camera.
This is the mom. That's the kid.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait to hear that. So are you going to you're going to record the podcast and tell her the story? So
yeah, we decided we're going to make our Christmas episode because, James Randi's in class, right? So that's our Christmas theme episode. And basically I'm just going to tell her about all James Randi's projects and what makes him
I'm
awesome.
Excited for it.
She has no idea.
I am clueless. I'm excited.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. It's such a good story. All right. What else we got? Bob, obviously you don't believe in them, but what is your favorite conspiracy theory?
I honestly, every time someone brings up the lizard people, I'm just like, yeah, if Beyonce is the queen, fucking sign me up. Like, I volunteer as tribute. Let's fucking do this. So,
that's a good one. They all drive me nuts a little bit. Just every one of them just irks me.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, so no one's a perfect skeptic, right? And the 9/11 one is actually one I fell for a while. Let's see, what was it? I was watching Zeitgeist, right? And the first part was so convincing about how Jesus Christ wasn't real or anything like that. And then you watch the second part, and they're like, "Well, that part's right. This part might be right." And, it just I fell for it for like I don't know, maybe a month, a couple weeks, but then I would then you think about it for a bit, right? But yeah, it was. I don't know. I want to call it my favorite though.
I'm torn. I'm torn between Flat Earth because it's fascinating, and I really haven't had any engagement with it except for my experience last weekend, which I fumbled on. So I haven't had that, and I want to go to a Flat Earth conference. I want to attend just to get in there and be like, okay, just overwhelmed. Like I'm the kind of person that I don't want to test things like put my toe in the water to see how cold it is. I just want to jump in the pool and just see what happens. So I really want to go to one of those conferences. And then the other conspiracy theory is the Bob Lazar UFO thing. So if you don't know, Bob Lazar claimed to have worked at a facility and worked on crashed UFOs and reverse engineered a whole bunch of stuff. And I mean, he's
guy that didn't even have a degree.
Yeah.
I think I looked him up once.
Yeah,
just a total fraud. Yeah,
total fraud. But had so many ideas, and I love it's one of those things that I usually lump it together with the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, because a lot of their investigations happened before the internet, before it was easy to access information, and it was very easy to make up a story and get it out there, because the only way it spread was slowly through newspapers and books. That was it. You didn't have instant Google stuff that you could look up and verify. So I'm fascinated with that kind of stuff. And Bob Lazar was just, he's a character. But all right, cool. I think we got one more question, big one. Bob says, what was the hardest thing about leaving the Mormon church? In other words, what part of that belief system was the hardest to part with? For me, when I left Christianity, I wanted to hang onto the belief in an afterlife where I would be able to meet up with family again. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I would say my departure was kind of slow. It took me a long time to get to the place of like, we die and there's nothing more. So I would say I left the church before I stopped believing in an afterlife. And leaving the church for me was actually kind of easy, at least compared to when I talk to other people. A lot of people, when they lose their religion around here, it's very crushing for them. And you can see them going through like a dark period. I didn't have that so much. And I think it's just because of how I was raised, again, with my parents just teaching me to be skeptical and that I didn't need to believe everything. But it was weird because I actually at first missed wearing garments because you have these extra layers of clothes that you have to wear, that you get in the temple. And I just felt kind of naked. Now I'm like, now I can barely like dress appropriately modest at all. Like I'm just like so happy to go wear those. But at the time I was like, and I had to like go buy like a normal underwear. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to do this anymore. That was a weird experience for me because I did not expect to miss that at first. But that was the first thing that was really, it made me feel kind of naked, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Now she gets chat talk on all the Mormon moms at school.
No, I don't. He's just making that up.
Shane, what about you?
I left early enough where I didn't have I never wore garments before. Never went. So I left by the time I was 16. So I didn't have my adult life tied into it.
Okay.
I'd say the hardest part would be the identity crisis, because after a while you start becoming like, who am I? Like your whole identity is tied into the religion, tied around the people you know around there, the facade you put out. I mean, I wasn't even allowed to watch rated R movies, so I don't even know what movies I liked. Like you just don't know yourself until you start immersing yourself into stuff. So there's a whole several year long period where I was just I just kind of became a yes man. Like, yeah, sure, I'll try that. Yeah, sure, I'll go do that. Yeah, sure, I'll try this. And a little while you start learning what you like and what you don't, and kind of build a personality from there. But yeah, for the longest time, I was like, who am I? What do I like? What's going on in the world?
That's cool. For me, I think leaving Catholicism was scary only because I expected some kind of supernatural punishment. And once I got over the hump where I was like, nothing happened. And that's the kind of kid I was. I always tried to do something bad to see what would happen, like if I could get caught. And once I started not going to church, like I would go to the playground instead of going to church and just sit there for an hour playing on the playground and then come home. And then my mom would start saying, well, you have to tell me what the gospel was about, because they read the gospel every day. So you had to tell me. So I would go, I'd time it out. So I was a very good scheduling bad kid, because I would time out.
No, I really want bad kids to do this, because like when our teenagers started rebelling, I was like, can you at least be smart about it? Like make it so you don't get caught.
Right.
Like something, right?
I would time it, go to the church, walk up to the church, walk in the back door when the gospel was being read, listen to it. It was only like 2-3 minutes. And I was like, all right, good. I'm good. Go back to the playground, play. When I saw people coming out of the church, I'd go home and be like, Mom, this was the gospel. Like, this is what they talked about. Okay, cool. And that was it. I was like, oh, I didn't get caught. This is great. Nothing's happening to me. I didn't get punished. All right. What else can I get away with? I don't know. let's see. So I think once I got over that initial hump, it was easy. I just stopped. I just didn't believe. I think I had more of a crisis when I realized that ghosts didn't exist, that the afterlife, like that whole thing, that whole origin story where I was mistaken, and that just was a domino effect. That was one domino that started the whole everything falling, and realized like, oh shit, like everything that I've been doing for the last couple of years that I was into myself, that was my passion, I was into it. Everything I did was wrong. And I think I had more of an issue with that than with leaving religion. So
yeah, makes sense. Losing the idea of an afterlife can be hard for sure.
Yeah, plus all the money I spent on equipment that didn't do it. Yeah,
true.
I invested a lot of time. Yeah, I have a big. It's in a display case out there. People can visit the center, and you can see all the equipment that I don't use anymore. And I'll tell you exactly why I don't use it. But leaving that and just realizing I spent so much. It wasn't so much the equipment, the money, the time, like that really hurt. But the idea that I had told other people, false information, and now I realized it was false. That was really what got me. That really bothered me.
With some of the shit I've done and said, I'm just like, ooh,
yeah,
it's rough.
All right, we are at the end of this. We've been doing this for 2 hours. This is awesome. I could talk to you guys for a long time. You guys are really nice. We didn't even talk about CSIcon. Oh, real quick, I gotta ask. Like, this was your first trip, right? First CSIcon?
Yeah.
Okay, so break it down. Like, favorite part. What can we improve on? What tips can you give newcomers next year?
I mean, I just think it was awesome. I was giving Shane a hard time because I was like, Richard Dawkins and Bill Nye aren't going to just be walking around in the halls, like hanging out. And then literally every time I went in the hall, like Richard Dawkins and Bill Nye was out there. I was like, this is getting weird. But I just love that it's such a tight community and everyone's so passionate, excited. And even though you got a bunch of introverts together, we're making it work with our awkwardness and just, and I loved the classes I went to, and I loved the location, and I thought it was awesome. Yeah.
Shane, you mentioned classes. And any particular class that you liked the most? Any particular class?
I was probably the one before. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I loved the magic class.
Oh, yeah, the magic class was fun.
That was good. Yeah.
I mean, it has nothing to do with it. But I went home and did that with all my kids because they're into magic. They love learning magic tricks.
That's cool. There's my handout. Yeah. I got that.
I loved your class because, that's what I want to do. So
awesome.
I was a captive audience during the whole time.
It was nice. Yeah. After the class was done, or after my part was done and Jim took over, I went to the back and I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, I know those guys. I know them too. They're the Beehive people. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So it was nice to see you there. I was very happy.
And then I like stopped you and said hi to you, and you're like, "Hey, Shane," and I'm like, "He knows my name."
Yeah, he got weird. He's like,
"Nerd."
He was fanboying the whole time.
I was fanboying over literally everybody I met, and she doesn't know who anybody is.
Yeah, he's just like,
and I was like, oh my God, it's Richard Saunders. I think
he had to like take a moment for Richard Saunders. He's like, I'm sorry, I just can't believe I'm talking to you right now. It was cute.
I mean, it was also the one I fanboyed the most over was actually Ross.
Yeah. He like skipped on over to him.
Hey, Ross!
Oh my gosh, Ross is here. Just a light, just so happy.
It's so nice. I absolutely love going every year. And like Ross, I met at the first one, I think 2016, I met him, and like we've been friends ever since. And I like to brag, he gave us a personal tour, backstage tour of Disney Animation Studios. So, because that's where he works. And we hooked up last year, and he's like, yeah, come on over. And he gave us a whole behind the scenes tour. He's amazing. One of the nicest people on the planet. I mean, really nice guy.
And then he remembered my name every time he walked by. He was like, hey, Shane. I'm like, oh my God.
He really makes a point. Yeah. It's really nice talking to him. That's one of the things I love. He makes a point to know who you are, and he remembers everybody. And it's just so nice. It's so awesome. And then other people, Richard Saunders. I mean, I was the same way. I've known him for years, and we've worked on a few things together. We've done some projects, and I have never met him in person. So it was more, I wasn't fanboying as much as it was like one of those emotional kind of things. Like I was so happy to finally meet this man and just give him a big hug. And we hung out, we had a beer together, and it was really nice. So like you said, Kirsten, it's a nice tight knit community. We look out for each other, and we're accepting, it's like, you're a newcomer. Oh, come on in, come into this circle here and talk to us and, tell us about yourself. And it's just so nice. So I really love it. I'm glad you guys had a good time. And we got to meet Daniel Reed. He was there, West Virginia Skeptics. That was his first time too. So he was excited about meeting everyone. And I got to meet you guys. I was excited about that. I was excited. And then when you're like, we want to do a podcast with you, I'm like, all right, this is awesome. I get to hang out and talk to you guys. So it was super awesome. And if you could give a tip to anyone that's watching that might go next year as a first timer, what would you tell them? What advice?
Don't show up super early in the morning. We barely made it here.
We should have come the night before.
We should have went the night before and been able to be there in the morning because our plane arrived a little late.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's always good. I always tell people
we're gonna go to the Halloween party because people are bringing a Halloween party costume. So I was impressed.
You guys looked awesome. You guys looked awesome. You played the part. You were totally in the role. I loved it. Loved it. All right. People want to find you. Where can they find you?
Let's see. We got Facebook. We got Instagram. We're trying out TikTok.
That's funny.
We have kids, and we hate how it's melting their brains. But yeah, it's meetup.com/Beehive Skeptics is where you're going to find our in-person meetups. Facebook.com/groups/Beehive Skeptics is where you're going to find our general group and our investigations and what's going on right now. And then our podcast. Hello.
You've been plugging.
They've been plugging so hard. You'll find on iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, Amazon, all of those.
Just do a search.
Beehive Skeptics. It'll start playing.
Awesome. All right. And for me, I just want to announce one thing. This Sunday, November 12th, I will be in Liverpool, New York. I'm going to do a lecture for the Central New York humanists. I'm going to talk about basically strategies for solving mysteries. It's the workshop that I did at CSIcon. So if you're in the area and you want to come out, come visit. It's at 1 o'clock, 1 to 3. I'll be there at where is it? It's at a library. Which library is it? Let me see. I don't even know what library it is. Look it up. I'll post the link on my page so if you can look it up and find the address. But other than that, everyone, thank you for hanging out this Friday night, learning about the Beehive Skeptics and what they do, what they're about, how they approach things, and everything Beehive Skeptics. And that's pretty much it. You guys hang out for just a moment. I'm going to play the outro video. Everyone else, have a great weekend. And remember, never stop learning. And I'll see you next week. Bye.